hey, what are these? These are gears. They're hard to find. We can't replicate them, so we're going to use them as money because it's harder to find them than gold. So when you got this really small population of human beings, they'll gravitate to something like that. And they're valuable because they're a fiat currency. And gold it retains its value only because of its luster. So in reality, all currency is just fiat currency. So all currency is basically fiat currency. To break it down to the finest sense of why is something valuable because we think it is. It is the same we say that gold has value, and in reality, if you were to go to space and predicted to be enough gold in space to make gold as valuable as gold. You go out and buy a bag of mulch that much in gold, and I do not mean in weight, I mean literally. If you were to fill that bag with pure gold, it would be worth the same amount of really, things only have value because you say it does, and it's quite rare. The scarcity is part of it. Basically, the way I see it is that you have decided to make yourself and say it has value, whereas the other types are basically the only other classification it has is that's it. Otherwise, it's just be a fiat currency. It's just be a fiat currency because you say you attract that as I challenge the economists to go and say otherwise. It's nice to have because there is a unique form of very interesting. Waddle and Dob as the first form of housing. Waddle and Dob is aside from just throwing together stones and fire and throwing some iron in the hole. Was really the first permanent form of human structure that was basically meant to stay there forever. So, while we're off, it's basically kind of like a bubble. And we're all going to get to that. But I love that it's that was one of the crucial steps in terms of raw Dob, you can make it through a variety of different ways. It's just dirt, doesn't have any dirt. Some grass, some that's the same, and the type of sand which dictate the color of Dob. So I'm going to be looking out for areas that are maybe more with granite in it, some granite sand, maybe some dust-type sand. If for no other reason than I don't know shale sand specifically, due to the fact that it is, or slate sand for that matter, because it would be quite thick, I think, to have shale or slate sand forming into Waddle and Dob. There's one right there. There we go. And while we're walking, we're going to want to pick up any flint we see. I don't think we can use these slate stones as tool stones, which is a shame. But, you know, it's what we've got. Oh, I'm kind of really liking the way that that's looking over there. I'm going to have to really do a deep exploration of that area. It's looking like it's going to be nice. Let's push this down. Yeah, that, after everything found in it, it seems like, yeah, it really needs to be experimental because there is a delay in I like to see it because I have noticed that when you're not dealing with a headphone jack, the speakers that output actually have amazingly good direct sound. It's essentially virtual surround sound, which is, you know, honestly the thing is that Razer is starting to charge people for use of a lot of functionality software-wise. So I used to really go ahead and say Razer is a great company to go and buy from, pretty reliable. And now I have to say that if you're going to buy a headset and you see a Razer as an option, running soft is good. It's not illegal. These were bought, of course, well before that. Just want to plop yourself down. You don't want to just plop yourself down. Really put a lot of time and investment into what you're doing, and then go ahead and find out later on. You know, you travel maybe about 1,000 blocks in one direction, 1,000 blocks in the other, and you're like, but actually, oh, this place would be a lot better. Vintage story. Need about 40 nuggets. So here we got some granite, but the top rock is slate. So again, great area for, you know, I'm gonna use this for roofing because I adore slate roofing, quite frankly, in this game. It looks fantastic. So later on, yeah, I will absolutely be using all this slate to my advantage. So let's see here. We saw this area over here is what we wanted to look at. So let's take a look. As you can see, these are delightful mushrooms. You can put them in your mouth and chew on them. They'll give you a sustenance. these are ruins. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah, a bit of bony soil. A little bit of tool, a little bit of this, and a little bit of that. And I can't manually or automatically mark these, so we manually mark it by doing this. I don't bother changing the color because why bother changing the color? It's ruins. It says so in the name. You know what it is. Look at it. There it is. Boom. Ruins. Parsnips. Ooh, so this is kind of a bit of a colder area. Okay. There's a lot of parsnips, a lot of kind of cool crops, rye. Some pine. Oh boy. Hang on. Let me see what's over here. At this point, that might be the last of the food that I got. Just because I've got so much food in my inventory and no real place to put it. So right now, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on a couple of things: gathering flint, finding a spot that we go ahead and that I go ahead and think, you know, hey, this would be amazing to go ahead and put a base down at. But also, it's going to involve watching the temperature, because right now we are in early spring and it's 1st of May. I do wish that there was an option to go ahead and allow us to choose when exactly we start in terms of the month, but I think that maybe that would confuse some newer players and make them choose perhaps a suboptimal month that would have them struggling just to survive. Okay, let me really get into this. Let's get down here, because this is looking like one of them areas where you just kind of go ahead and bite your lip like I like that. So let me go ahead and take a peek down this way while we march. And then berries. Chicken. I mean, this would be an interesting area to build in, especially if I were to go ahead and build everything up on top of these spires and build bridges between each building. Ooh, that'd be a momentous undertaking. And then this way a bit. So we look on the map, it's pretty much rapidly going to turn into essentially a giant sort of kind of lagoon area. And the thing is that those areas can be fun to work with, but at the same time they can also be some of the most annoying to work with. Oh, here we go, some red clay. We got that marked on the map. And we'll just mark everything that we can here for the obvious reason of, well, because we can. Auto map markers mod that can be found on the Vintage Story VOD database. So let's go ahead and look at hello. I do also have visible high fertility soil on, strictly because I don't want to be dealing with that. I'm just going to be straight up here. I want to be dealing with that. The trouble of finding it without that, which it's not impossible, and yeah, it does make the game easier, but I'm going to tell you the truth. When I was last playing, when I first started playing Vintage Story, when Terra Preta was what spawned in the world, I didn't find any at all, and I was looking for ages. I didn't find any. So after a certain point, I was like, all right, it doesn't exist. I don't care what people say, it doesn't exist. And for all I know, that was probably the truth. What do we got here? So, some forest over here. Honestly, I want to go check out that forest. Because I said so. torch, and fire maker's pretty easy. We have a fire maker, we've got a torch, and when it gets dark, we can fire make and torch. There's a rabbit. Oh, this is quite nice. This area is quite nice. It's still heavily in the shale area though. And this is one of those things where, once again, I don't know how best to explain. So, Vintage Story is a game about exploration, first and foremost, obviously. And yet, at the same time, when you have a specific sort of resource, let's just say, you know, we'll talk about just limestone, for example. It is a vital resource. You know, you can't start a world and then get very far in it. You can get chainmail and that's about it. Well, no, because chainmail does take leather. Okay, well you can get a Gambiasa. That's what you can get with without any sort of, you know, without any sort of leather. And if you want any sort of plate armor, you want the chain armor, you want the scale mail, anything like that is going to require leather. And so you kind of have this situation where it's one of those, well, okay, Tyron, I understand that, you know, what you're doing here is you're basically setting up us to focus us on exploration here, but when you're having us take treks that are, you're having us take treks that are, you know, 5,000, 6,000, 10,000, 100,000 blocks to find a single resource that is, it's really not that hard to get a hold. And the reality is that there are a lot of places that frankly didn't have limestone, and yet they still had ample supplies of leather. And how did they have ample supplies of leather? Because you don't actually need limestone to do all the things that you were doing, you know, with your hides. There wasn't really an issue. You could wash the hide, then you wash it, then you scrape the hide with a knife, then you go ahead and soak it in tannins. And you didn't actually need lime to go ahead and make yourself some, you know, tanned hides. It wasn't leather, it was tanned hides, but I don't think that distinction really matters in the sense of a video game. And so you're kind of sitting there going like, yeah, okay, Tyron. And of course, you know, you can use borax. That's an option. I'm not going to stop you from using borax. I have never even found borax ever, even when pro picking, but yeah, borax is an option. Any minute. There we go. Relight. I can now see. And hopefully, when we are running, we're going to keep running generally in this direction, but south and north is an option. I just want to go this. I want to go west, essentially, because I want to see westward what we're dealing with, and you know, we'll go ahead and search around eastward because, you know, once again, we've got these really long months to go ahead and do some proper exploration, and 5 whole days where we're not going to be tormented essentially by anything but doing a quick candy cane to our ankles. So, you know, if we don't have to worry about anything but getting our ankles candy cane, away we shall go. This is a nice little desert area.